Do you guys have to approve it? Maybe not. All
What
right.
if we don't approve it?
I know, right? It all just, it's like the wick on the candle. I light it, cut it. Hey, so let's pray real quick, and then we'll have this little meeting. Lord, thank you for this time, get together. Thank you for things like Zoom. We can be all across the state of Texas and still gather and hear each other out. So thank you for that. We pray you bless this time. Amen. Just to learn. All right. So I'm still doing all the billing. You should finalize probably this morning for that weekend, just because so many different moving parts came into play. The main one being trying to get the division to cover the bill and then do internal transfers, right? But my P card has never been a divisional card. We never set that up because there was no divisional budget like David had. So working through it all and getting all the right charges correctly so that we're not paying for things that we don't need to, as we split it with Southwest and all of that. So, but it's been able to be on my mind still, everything that has occurred, right? And from the food to the venue to the schedule and all that. So it's all still kind of fresh. I'm sure for you guys, it's probably not as fresh. A week and a half goes by, you tend to forget things, but I feel like this meeting might help revive it all and go, okay, hey, we can improve on that. We can improve on that. This was good. That was meh. This was bad, whatever. And I'll be taking notes and try to see how it'll all shake out next year, right? Because we're going to do this all again under an NGL umbrella next year. And who knows how big it'll be. We heard, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but we were talking to Orby the last night of graduation. And he was saying he was talking to Sam Coleman, and Sam Coleman in the Southeast saying, man, I think we need to be a part of graduation with y'all next year. And next thing you know, it could be a full national graduation that national will have to maybe take the reins from, as far as financially putting it on in the venue and all of that. So those things are yet to be decided, but you can imagine, right, how big it could be and how different it could be. So anyway, thinking back on Houston, we can do a SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, what is the opportunities and threats, right? So why don't we do that? What were, first of all, and you guys can speak freely, there's only 4 of us on the call. What were some of the strengths from graduation in Houston?
Well, I think first of all, the location was really good. I think the hotel was in a great location. There were several places around there. The hotel was they worked well with us, the people at the front desk. Whenever we needed something, they were there. So yeah, I think one of the strength was having it in Houston. It was a good place. If we do it in Houston again, it needs to be there.
Because it's definitely different than the last hotel we had in Houston.
Right.
This one was it was really cool. Courtyard, and
right.
We didn't have to go to a lot of different places. It was all down the hall and boom, boom, boom. That's true.
Although we got lost for like an hour trying to find the big conference room, Greg and I.
Getting to the other building. But I would definitely echo that. I think the location was really great, and it was good that you really didn't have to move your car. I know that there have been times where it's like, oh, you guys can Uber if you guys want to go grab food or, do something later. But they really could have been on foot, which was really a great safety precaution,
Many times we did eat.
I'm sorry?
And many times we did just walk to go eat. A lot of us didn't leave at all. So that's good.
Yeah, so that was really nice and helpful. We know that they're adults, but the less on the road travel, the better, I would say, when things are accessible that way. So that was nice. Another thing that I think I enjoyed, I was grateful to have Christina there to kind of have like some hands on like admin stuff. Um, I thought that it was great that she was able to kind of like assist in like the reminder things, which was cool. I don't think we'd done that before, so I really like I enjoyed that. And so I don't know if that's something that we could potentially pick up again and treat it as like any other bigger conference that we usually have kind of done. Because if we're going to continue to grow and get bigger, I think that would be a great benefit and asset.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about that that schedule? It wasn't an app; it was really like a PDF or a website, but that they created for us for that. I didn't know if we'd be able to pull that off when we suggested it back then, but man, it was pretty cool, right? You guys refer to it throughout the weekend, you know,
Oh yeah.
and it was able to be real time adjusted. So like if we had to push something the next day to 1:30 and it was at 1, it'd be live in real time on the schedule. So that was kind of cool. I forget if it had a name, but the schedule page, right? What else? Anything else that was strength?
Let me know if I break up. I'm on the road out in sticks. Yeah, like echo the hotel, all that's really good. I think when we think through location, just having something central, accessible, all those things, is great. Just access. Not having to drive around, Ubers, stuff like that. It's hard to find anything like any closer to an airport in Houston that's like that. So, I think that's, if we do it again next year, try to get everyone to IAH is probably best, but it's not always possible. I think our presentation is a strength. I know Houston had some issues with some of their folks and maybe some of y'all did too, but I just think the new format was great. And I don't think anyone was questioning it. I think we just need to continue to hone in on what we want that to look like. Maybe pick a few that we thought were solid so that we can show next year. Right? A lot of these guys this year were like, "Can I see an example?" And we were like, "Nope, there isn't one." And so, yeah, I think our presentation is a strength as well. So loved gifts, raffle, like just making the thing like fun, and not like gimmicky, but just like giving away money, giving away a good gift, celebrating people, the program, like props to Fred for doing the program. That's awesome. I've actually kept that as like, look and see kind of deals. I'm talking to people about the program just to like see faces and stuff like that. So that was cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And I think he had when he rewatches this, he might laugh. But I thought he had like a web version of it as well, that goes created before print, and it just was really, really, I'm just so, I'm happy that the Southwest finally got it done. And they didn't even finish all their interns profiles, but the fact that they got some done, I was like, man, thank God. It was just better, that we were all together.
Right.
I think
and then like kind of going into opportunities.
Sorry,
we just need to save those programs. Daniel, I'm not done.
Sorry.
Just save those programs, Tim, so we can start creating like a massive, almost yearbook, every year, and just that way we add to the pages. In 5 years, we can hand that to someone, or if we're trying to recollect whatever, we can. We just have archives. So yeah, those are all my strengths. I'll yield my time on the floor to Daniel Torres from South Texas.
Thank you, sir. I think having Lucho open up was a strength. It kind of set the mood going in towards the weekend, and then having Paul Cody close us at the end, dude, that was solid. He had everybody engaged. I think a big strength also was having area directors, having parents and family show up. I think just having people from the outside come into this graduation was a super win. It made the DEL staff feel important, that there was people in the room besides us, and so I think that was a major strength.
It added to the vibe of a true graduation, right? You know how you go to
Right.
graduations, college, and you see uncles and aunts and people that are really, really proud of. And I think it went hand in hand with our new presentation model of, hey, tell your story, tell us your growth, you know, and it being a room that wants to celebrate that. And I think
Right.
that environment was special, you know, not that we never had it before, right? But there are other years, I think, where the room is full of strangers, just full of people that know, they have no idea who's in the room and all of that. And other than their co-interns, right? But
yeah, I mean, I think it was really cool, like looking back at, you know, after all the pictures were taken, you know, you seeing like parents take their daughters flowers and they're taking pictures with their children. And I mean, that was just like real, and you know, we've never done that before. So I think that was really good, and I think it'd be a good idea to even offer it to our, like, you know, tell our staff like, hey, you can bring, you know, if you have somebody that wants to come in, you know, invite them in, right? And then, you know, leave it up to the area to figure out how they're going to pay for that. But at least there's an invitation that, you know, if you're coming from San Antonio or Austin or Dallas, you know, we're having it in Houston, like, bring your people.
yeah,
I think that's so true, because like, I mean, I know there's been a few times, well, I won't say a few, but I know last year in Houston, there were a few Houston folks that had their parents come, like just like a handful. But it was nice to see that, like, even talking to Daisy, was just like, no, I want my family to be there. Like, I want them to come down from Dallas. And so that was just really sweet to see the dynamic. And so, of course, it's not going to be, you know, if this is something that we do on a national level and it's going to be on the East Coast or something like that, everyone, of course, won't be represented family-wise. But I do think, I agree, like, it's a huge win in a room where people who are, that have the means or are available, or local, whatever, that they can also fill the room, because it does give them a sense of like, it's bigger than just like a Young Life room. You know, like this impacts like the family, it impacts the community, it impacts like what I've been able to learn in the last 2 years transcends into the family that I also like love on and I exist in. And so I love that.
I mean, I heard things from interns that had family along the lines of, I'm the first person to ever go into ministry. I'm the first, you know, my parents think I'm a pastor now. Things like that. And it's like, oh my gosh, like it's a sort of legacy they may be beginning that's bigger than just nuclear family, but more of like a spiritual legacy. Like, you know, their cousins, their sister and brothers, their extended are like, oh yeah, they were not an ordination, but man, they went through that spiritual growth internship and ministry. Like that was huge, right? And it's like a flag in the sand of their life to say, on this year, this date, this is what I accomplished with the Lord, you know? And so I think that was pretty cool. Great insight on that. Daniel, what do you mean by it was great that Lucho led us off, and what about it being Lucho? That it was a Houston RD and
not that it was. I mean, someone that was you know, coming from the outside. I mean, the Houston people know Lucho, right? But like, you know, it was like Eduardo's first time seeing Lucho, and it was, you know, Aaliyah's first time, and so to have an ARD, you know, speaking to them as like, hey, this is, you know, he spoke vision into them and to dream big, and you know, kind of like set that tone of like, this is the beginning. You know, you guys are entering this, you know, this internship, and you know, now you're moving on to the next chapter. Some of you guys are going to be full-time staff. Some of you guys might be going on to your own career. But it was just like speaking into them, and coming from an ARD or from an RD, right, was really big. I think it was really important to have somebody of that stature. You know, kind of whether it's Lucho or if it was like, you know, Laudier or, you know, Daryl, even, you know, someone of color, you know, getting up there,
Yeah.
who has, you know, kind of
But
climbed the ranks in Young Life was
I
really
think
good.
climbing the ranks is great because you think about Lucho's humble beginnings and him able to
Right.
say that. I mean, he's identifying with the first year intern, the second year intern.
Yeah.
I was there, you know, and that part, yeah, absolutely, it's great. Um, Man, I can't agree more with some of these that you guys rattled off. The gift and raffles were so fun. I think Southwest kept mentioning how envious they were that A, that they didn't come up with the idea, B, that they didn't have the donations, that they probably could have gotten themselves to do this, but that we had a little bit of the foresight to make it happen. But we included them in it, right? They were part of it. Or did we ever do any without them? I don't remember. I think we waited till it was a whole room, right? But yeah, it just made it so much more of a Young Life vibe, right? Like the fun, the gifts, the prizes, that sort of thing is cool. So props to you, Greg, for pulling that off. That was awesome. Worship team, what'd you guys think? I thought that couple was pretty good, man. They were really good. Gosh.
Yeah, they were really good. I wish Saturday morning would have been, you know, we could have worshiped. You know, I think that was a mistake on our end, miscommunication. You know, as we were, you know, when we were in the room on Friday morning, I think it was Tommy talking about we need to have more worship, and we did the opposite this year. We had less worship this year
Yeah.
than any other year. We've always had worship. We've always had devotional, and I think the ball was dropped there. But I think that was a weakness on our end.
Yeah, and it was magnified because they were so good. Like you felt the gap when they weren't there. Because it was like, oh, dude.
Yeah.
Although Fred did sing a little.
Hey.
Come on, Fred. Yeah.
That was good.
But yeah, I agree. Like, man, that really was a tone setter when they were able to be there. So, what else? Gosh.
I also think it was like really real to see them like with their children. Like as a parent, like seeing that was just like, okay, you guys are parents and you guys are doing ministry.
Yeah, and Katie is hoping that we can get them at our assignment because we don't have special music yet because your boy wasn't able to do it.
That's your boy, dog. That's your boy.
DJ Glow, or what's his name, bro? Anyway, trying to think what else in the order of things. You know, we had a lot of logistics that we were juggling, doing it with another division, right? And them not wanting to be all in the same room. I think it ended up being a blessing in disguise that I was fearful of not having a room that would feel full enough without them there. But instead, I'm sure their room felt very light because when I did visit their room on Saturday, it really was just their interns. Maybe because they're traveling so far, but our room always had staff and families and people, and it just felt like a better audience for presentations. But logistically, I think it worked out well. Had we tried to do a run of every one of theirs and ours, we would have been smoked, right? So there's only so many.
And it was really good. It was also really good. I mean, this is a small detail, but the size of their room for the dynamic of like their interns worked really well too. Like I sat in there for about 2 of them, and like they had the smaller room. I don't know if that was intentional, but it just worked out because it also didn't feel like their room was too big for their interns to do their presentations in. And it felt like, oh, I'm just doing this in front of my friends, even though they were, or like, you know, their fellows, but like, it still was a decent amount of space for them. And it didn't feel like, oh my gosh, no one's really listening to me, which was good.
They actually had more graduates, but we had our year ones there. So then we had more numbers in the end, right? But yeah, I agree. And the truth is I don't think they were as further along when it came to presentations, and even according to them, they had some limitations, and that had to do, I think, more with how they were trained leading up to it in their 2 years versus ours. But that's a separate issue, right? That's really not our it will be our concern in the end down the road. But for this event, it was, whatever. Anyway, any other positives before we go on to weaknesses? Okay, let's go to weaknesses. What are some right off the top of your head?
I know on my end, I didn't really feel it much, but I don't know if it was a bigger deal for you guys of like the hotel stuff on Friday night and not having the rooms for that. I didn't feel it as much because I came in a little later, but just communicating that the directors were coming in time or coming before the interns could have been a thing. And probably like just having some additional administration stuff on our side. Yeah, I'm thinking through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would definitely, just kind of piggybacking off of what Brilla was saying is the communication piece. I guess through like Christina and you to us, or Christina to us, or you to whatever, wherever there was just a lot of miscommunication. And we talked a lot about it, Tim and I. What was that?
On some of the handoffs, on some of the communication.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that, the only person from our division that was staying in a hotel that night was you, Tim. And, I had to, sign up Orlando and Marte and Greg and myself and Abrilla, too. I had to sign us all in that morning.
So Brilliant's
when I
name
got
wasn't on it
there.
either?
No, she wasn't. And so I told them about Abrilia, but I don't know if I had the authority to like, oh yeah, let's, she needs to be on this on the hotel list, right? Because I wasn't the one calling the hotel and dealing with them. Anyways, there was just a lot of miscommunication on that end, and we talked a lot about that already. But yeah, we definitely need like an admin or someone to kind of work on that piece.
Mm-hmm. There were some things that the hotel admittedly said, hey, we missed it. You gave us the list, you gave us the rooms, assignments, we confirmed it, and then the day of, it didn't happen. On
Gotcha.
some, not everyone, but most of it, and
yeah.
But I thought, yeah, on that first, and thank God it didn't happen a lot on when interns came. It was more us who was able to kind of roll with it, like you guys there. But yeah, that could be frustrating. I felt like the food was, hotel food. It was, you guys probably would have hated it if you knew what it cost. But because
I think it was like $40 because I think my AD is paying $40
for
it
lunch,
was expensive.
Dinner was higher, more like $60, bro, not pesos. Dude, but that's the World Hotel event. That's where they make their money, It's unfortunate. Yeah. And in fact, we got a better deal at this hotel than other hotels. If you can imagine what we would have had to pay. I'm sorry, go ahead, Abrilia.
No, yeah, on the topic of food, the lunch and dinners, even though they weren't like superb, they were decent, at least in like variety and potential flavor and stuff.
Yeah.
But what I thought was potentially hard issue was breakfast. Like there weren't many like options in the breakfast for people to eat, and the lines were extremely long. I don't think that there was really much for people to kind of like go off of if they weren't going to actually purchase something. Because I know that was the difference at that particular hotel. And so that was kind of hard because I know the interns were like hungry, and I was talking a little bit about all of that too. So, and I got to see it too, because even when I got there, probably if we were telling them to have an hour for breakfast, I think I got there at like 7:25 or something. And the line was extremely long. I probably didn't actually sit down to even eat until probably 10 minutes till almost. With little options to even choose from.
Yeah. What else? How did you guys feel about the sound and audio video? I thought I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think there was any glitches or anything. You know, we
No, I was going to say that it turned out well, and especially that it was because the two rooms were beside each other. It worked out well that we could just move the speaker and the microphone. It
yeah,
wasn't like this big heavy equipment. It was easy to move around.
yeah,
I think that projector that Katie had for us was a really good projector. Almost HD feel.
yeah. Well, and props to her for hooking all that up. That was all local stuff too, so that's great.
Yeah.
The speakers were local as well, or were they from the hotel?
No, the speakers were local. All the hotel allotted things were in the other room, projections, etc. So our room.
I would say another weakness, and it's not even a big deal. It's probably maybe just me, but I don't think I got the clarity of like the time limit on the presentations. I think the presentations were good, but there was more than half that went 17 minutes, 20 minutes. I mean, they were just too long. And so I think as we're presenting to our, next year to our interns and telling them like, all right, this is how we're going to present, but the years past, it was always, we were really strict, 8 minutes, 10 minutes. And if it went over a few minutes, that was fine. We had some wiggle room. I think, the years before, the longest we ever went was like 12 minutes. And like just easily, every single one was about 12 minutes plus this year. And so there needs to be clarity.
In years past, that 12 minutes, we were like, oh my God, this is going so long.
Right.
And now,
right.
Well, we were like,
and these presentations are different and they're more about their story. So they're more engaging, and it's easy to talk about yourself and share your testimony. Next thing you know, it's 17 minutes have gone by,
yeah.
And so I think there just needs to be clarity on our end as we tell our interns next year of like, okay, we want to make sure there's a 12 minutes, there's a 12 to 15 minutes, for their story. But then we have to start thinking about like the days and like, okay, how many interns we're going to have next year?
Yeah.
How long is it going to take us to get through it?
That's a great point.
Etc.
That's a great point to really unpack it. I think the next time we meet is say, okay, because it's a very personal story, are we hacking it off at the knees if we say, hey, 6 minutes, or do we reevaluate and say, you know what, it's better if they're 10 because it's feel like a better presentation, but it's got to be
right.
10. It can't be 14.
I mean, tops, it has to end at 15 in the sense of like Q&A. You know what I mean? Like if
right.
that's the route we're going.
Yeah. So I think, and it begs another question. We never really incorporated in our monthly trainings practice presentations. We just kind of, how we used to weave them in.
Should we do that in January? At our January retreat?
Man.
Again, we're just talking about it right now. This is something to think through.
I mean,
real quick, I would say, one, to answer Daniel, I don't think we should do it at our January retreat. I think we should work it in with our regions, because just the fear of redundancy, because we don't know what graduation is going to look like or where it's going to be,
right.
and like who's going to see it and who's going to come. Remember that year we went to California and we had already done our practice deal, and we flew all the way to California just to do it in front of the same people again.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, well, I kind of saw the same presentation. It was a little better because we gave them feedback, but I think we just do that in the regions, and just create a schedule. I think the whole thing with the presentation is we have instructions for the presentations, but what we don't have is like documented instructions as directors. So it's like 6 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes. It doesn't matter if they go over, nothing happens. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not trying to like punish people, but there's no process for when you go over. There's no consequence for going over. There's no consequence for not doing the assignment correctly, right? Like we had several students, more than several students, not do the assignment. And everyone's ooh and eyeing because the stories were great stories, but they didn't do the assignment.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, but there's no feedback. There's no report card. There's no, this is terrible, but there's no like, you don't graduate. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, well, it is what it is, you know? And it's like, I think if we developed a process that was like, hey, at 8 minutes, I'm going to raise my hand And then at 10 minutes, I'm going to ask you to go to the last slide and finish your last slide. You know, and that's just off the top of my head. But like, if we actually had a process that wasn't like, you know, that made them go, okay, the hands raised, maybe it's 6 minutes, the hands raised. I've got 2 minutes to wrap up. And then at 8 minutes, I'm going to raise my hand again. And that means you just need to go, okay, I'm out of time. I'm going to go to my last slide here and tell you what I'm doing next. And then I'll be done, you know, and maybe that acts as kind of this consequential, well, I didn't get to finish it, you know, and that's what it is. But we can't continue to like wing it around the presentation without having some sort of healthy, consequential process. Otherwise, people are gonna be like, well, nothing really happens if you go over, and nothing really happens if you don't do what they ask you to do. So just do what you got to do, you know? So I think it'd be helpful if we wrote down like a process that we gave them, and they knew in January, okay, here's how this is going to go. And then when Daniel's practicing with his people in February, he can go, okay, we're going to do it. I'm going to like get up there. I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to raise my hand again. And when you see the second hand, you got to go to your next slide. And what you don't want me to do is to come up there and make you go to your last slide, you know, things like that. So,
Hey, by the way, I'm doing an upgrade as we speak, so we don't need this call. Stupid up.
I'm about to get out of service here, Tim. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you can.
Okay, I'm going to throw just a few more things out. I agree with just some of the misses with the hotel. Christina is phenomenal at her job. I think we just need to have a better line of communication.